kind of thing, and it also explains to you how Hollywood manages to waste money. You sometimes wonder why a movie is so expensive, and you always think it's because the actor is expensive, but that's not always the way it is. And it kind of leads up to the next song that I'm going to do. So actually, the story somehow fits a little close to the story because it's at that time when it happens. Because we got a 30th anniversary, first of all, here tonight. Happy 30th anniversary, Zoe. No, I'm just kidding. Fight to Survive, it is exactly 30 years ago since that album was recorded. It's a long, long time ago. I think that was just about the time when Kiss did the first reunion tour. No, of course not. And that is a long time, and whenever I go back and visit that album, a lot of stuff comes in because it wasn't just recording an album. This was an album that we were financing ourselves. We came back to New York, and very quickly, in 1984, we got what you call a massive recording deal with a lot of zeros on the check. And that felt good, that felt like a complete victory. Basically, since we haven't necessarily worked that hard already, it's sort of similar to X Factor, where you go straight to the top after 3 weeks. Come on guys, laugh a little. No, it wasn't quite. By that time I'd already put 15 years in, so don't worry about that. So what happened was that after we had gotten paid and we're starting going out and spending the money like true rock and roll stars, our manager calls us together and says, I got good news and bad news. Which one you want to hear first? Which one would you want to hear first? It's like and Peter just goes, just fucking tell us the whole thing. He says, well, the bad news is that the record company that has signed you and paid you all this money have decided to drop you. That basically means not release the album. And then we go, well, what's the good news? And the good news is you get to keep the money. But reality to us, that wasn't really the good news because we really wanted our album out. So from the time Fight to Survive has been recorded and signed a record deal, there goes another 1.5 years before that album comes out. Somehow in Japan, and from Japan it becomes imported to France, Germany, and England, and this is when it starts showing up as the #1 import on Kerrang's indie charts and stuff like that. So this is really where White Line breaks. Meanwhile, we're back in America almost not doing anything when we suddenly get a phone call, again from a manager who gets a phone call from a Hollywood director who says, I need a rock band for a movie. And we go down to the audition and bring our stage clothes and stand around there with our big hair and stuff like that. And he says, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Okay. But the thing is, you have to be dressed like gigantic flies. So, once again, good news versus bad news. We go along with the thing, and he says, then you need to write a song. And then he explains this whole scene. It also, at the time, happens to be a movie that stars Tom Hanks in. So we're already talking big time. Even though Tom Hanks is not the biggest star back then, it's still fucking Tom Hanks. And it's a Steven Spielberg production, so we really can't get much bigger than that. And there's, again, a pretty big check. And a starving rock band can never say no to a big check. So the scene goes, because this movie is called The Money Pit, and the money pit basically means a big hole in the floor where you just throw the money and everything you do goes wrong. The scene where we are in is that Tom Hanks is a manager of a band, which doesn't really explain it in the movie, but suddenly it does when the scene happens, especially after watching it 20 times. Trying to get the plot. Why were we in the movie? We're gone. We're doing a video that's completely going wrong. It doesn't look, everything in the video is just not working, and that's part of the money he wastes. And the scene is that because the reason why we're dressed up as gigantic flies with huge heads and gigantic wings, and standing on a gigantic stage made out of foam like a Venus flytrap plant, that's the reason why we're flies getting eaten by this plant. Exactly all the things we always have been dreaming about in our career rock and roll. My spinal tap wasn't enough. And that goes like 3 weeks to a month where we're going to fittings every day, and these I tell you, I'm not bullshitting, the fucking heads are this big. And when you put them on, you're like, and the wings, and this is a serious Hollywood costume, you know, unbelievable. Then the day comes to shoot the video, and then of course the filming and stuff like that, and we're trying to do this song, but the stage is just foam, and it's a disaster. Even though it's supposed to be a disaster, it is a double disaster. And finally, after a few hours of this completely failing, the director goes, cut, strip it all down, and then he calls the band over in the corner, have you by any chance your original stage clothes with us? And we go, yes, of course we have. We would never leave home without it. So within 2 hours, they throw away about $10 million of stage sets, costumes. The women who have designed the costumes are standing in tears, and we're standing in the dressing room. Just what we needed. Great fucking theme, you know, and this song that we've written is a pretty kick-ass song. And then here's another crazy Hollywood idea when you get a director who has not any clue about what a rock and roll band is. Oh, you need a girl that plays tambourine in the band. Where do they get these ideas from? There was no girl, well, and Beatles, well, sort of the one in, but where do they get these ideas? You get this close, but still you're so far away from saying, oh man, now we finally got a break. No, we had to have a girl that jumps in and out between all my stage moves and stuff like that. Completely chaos. Where does the story end? The story ends that recently, in my ex-manager, old manager's house, I found the original tapes, 24-track tapes, to the Fight to Survive albums. And I found the only unreleased song ever from White Line, which is called Web of Desire, which is featured in that movie, of course, only about 3 seconds. So it was quite an interesting find to discover that song along with the story that I told you.
She left me, I don't know. Really doesn't matter anymore. I thought our love could last forever, but here I stand lost and all alone. There is starting the day. die.